Hey, no beer, drink better here. We've got a good table full of Oktoberfest beers right here. We have Spaten Oktoberfest, we have Leinenkugel's Oktoberfest, Beta's Fall Fest, which is a Marzen style Oktoberfest, or a Oktoberfest, not necessarily a Marzen style, and then a Paulaner Oktoberfest, which is a Marzen style beer. I've got John here and I've got Aaron here to help me drink beer. We're going to open them up. We already did open up the Spaten, and we're going to take a sip and talk a little bit about it. Ready, guys? Oh, that sounds good. Ready? All Oktoberfest beers have a malty bouquet, I guess you'd call it. They're very prevalent. This one is not so prevalent, though. It has more of a kind of a lingering hop taste that we've discussed before. That's kind of similar to a lot of German beers, kind of a German skunky, similar to Heineken too. The Heineken aftertaste, that is, even though Heineken is not a German beer per se, but a good refreshing beer, light body feel. When you say kind of thin in the mouth.
It's one of those beers that almost smells a little better than it tastes.
Right.
Like, it tastes good, but
yeah,
it smells even better.
Yeah, it does. It has a really good aromatic quality to it, but the taste doesn't quite live up to it. What do you think, Aaron?
So on the nose, that kind of sour or kind of skunky, is that hops you're smelling there, or?
Yeah, it probably is the hops, and it could be a combination of the malts and the beers used to make the beer.
You think it has anything to do with the green bottles? More light?
It could. You know, the darker bottles, more light is exposed to the beer. You want beer not to be exposed to light, so when you store it, you always put it in a dark, cool, dry place. So it could have something to do with that. But I would like to think that they knew what they were doing when they bottled in green, and not that they were just being cheap and bought cheap bottles. But not a bad beer, not one of my favorite Oktoberfest. Now we're going to move to the Leinenkugel's Oktoberfest. This was bought at Smoker's Paradise. This was bought at Brookshire's. Pretty readily available beer. This is a little harder to find. Clean my glass out improperly, but nonetheless. When I pour beer, I like to pour down the side and then finish it off straight on to get a good little creamy head to it. Some for me, some for you. Yay!
So a similar color?
Yeah, very similar color. All Oktoberfest or Marzen style beer are going to have that nice amber tint to it. So let's smell it.
Even more of that skunky nose on this one, I think, than the last one.
I thought that too, but I wondered if it's because I didn't wash out my glass. You know? But I don't think that it can be all that. I think it's probably surprising too, because I would think that the German beer would be a little more skunky than the Wisconsin beer.
Well, I mean, all of these are Marzen style, so they're brewed in the tradition of what you'd get in Germany. Yeah, it does have a little bit, but there's a hint of malt in there that you can smell, kind of caramel roasted, whatever. Definitely a better taste than the last one from Spaten there. A lot more bounce, less of an aftertaste.
It's not as thin on the mouth.
Right, a little thicker. A little thicker. Definitely will fill your belly. I mean, you couldn't drink too many of these. Not that we've done it tonight.
No, of course not.
No. But yeah, this is a good beer. It's $7.99 a six pack. I mean, that's close to Budweiser, and that's not bad.
How much was the Spaten?
Spaten was actually $11.99 a six pack. Steep buy. And I'm just gonna say it's not worth $11.99. Not compared to the $7.99. I think the taste of the $7.99, the Leinenkugel's, is a lot better, a lot more caramel. Even has a kind of a roasted aftertaste. Very little hop presence, even though you can tell it's there. It's just balanced really well with the malts.
I would imagine that you could buy the Spaten for less somewhere else, but
Yeah, it's
just
possible. Yeah.
hard to find it.
Right.
Hard to find it here.
It might be hard to find anywhere else, but maybe not. All right, we're going to move on to the Fall Fest Abita. This is made right here in Louisiana, down in Abita Springs, close to New Orleans. I guess that would be the North Shore. Maybe not, but I've heard it say that. Bring it up just a little bit there.
A little lighter color from them.
I can't feel my hand, so it might be a little shaky. Now, this is not a Oktoberfest per se, but it is in the Oktoberfest fashion, according to Abita. Yeah, the color is very similar, just a little bit lighter, like you said.
This one has a little bit more of a fruity smell to it.
Yeah, it does have fruity tones to it. Almost like a sweet bread or something. So you have the malty characteristic, as in the other Oktoberfest. But it is sweeter in the first. Now this has a very light body feel, really light in your mouth.
Not as much flavor.
Not as much flavor at all, yeah. Very light, which is really characteristic of a lot of Abita beers. They're really non-offensive beers. It has a distinct aftertaste. It's not, off-putting, but it's kind of hard to pin. It could be the hops coming through when it's not well balanced as the other beers so far. A little bit more hop prevalence, maybe. You get that, perhaps. All right, we're going to move on to the Polliner. This is a $9.99 six-pack. You can find it at Smoker's Paradise. This is kind of for me, is always the Oktoberfest to judge all other Oktoberfest. It's a Munich style as well as Spaten. So this is one of the ones they actually tap at, the real Oktoberfest. And at $9.99, if you want to splurge a little bit, it's still a good price. And you don't have to splurge that much. Now, the color is a little bit darker than the others, a tad bit, but not too much. It has a really, really malty, bread, caramel-y smell to it.
I think that's got the nicest nose to all of them so far.
Very nice.
It's got another little kick in the taste that I can't quite pin down. That makes it distinct from the others to me. And for some reason I think of licorice a little bit, but it's not that. It's something else.
There's caramel hops, there's pale malt hops, and they usually offset another hop that are usually the base malts for when you brew Oktoberfest. So it could be one of those malts coming into play there, but yeah, it does have a sweeter tinge to it, kind of like the Fall Fest had. But it seems to be a whole lot more balanced than the others are.
It's got 10 times more flavor.
Right. Yeah, and aroma.
But at the same time, it's smooth.
Right.
Really good mouthfeel.
And it's more balanced than the others we tried.
Right.
You can tell it's really quality too. I mean, some of the other ones you taste and you're kind of like, if I drink too much of this, I'll probably,
Wake up
have
like
heartburn or something.
Right.
This is just clean, but full of flavor, and
it's good, clean fun. Let's be honest here. Yeah, good color. I mean, this is by far, for what Monroe has to offer, the best Oktoberfest that you can have. So, being that it's fall, you're going to celebrate, drink beer, drink Oktoberfest for the time being, and I think we would suggest drink Polliner Oktoberfest Marzen. It's the best one so far, and we'll cheer to that. No beer, drink better.